So that's 80 psi. It's about 5.5 bar, and we're sitting at 4.5 bar on this one. And I'll show you another cylinder here in a second. And we're gonna pause while the while that thing stops making noise. Well, hello, strangers. I am back in the shop today. Kind of. I'll be fully honest with you. I don't know what I'm going to do today. But I have something to take care of this morning before I get in here, and that's this heaping pile of trees that needs to be burnt. And I can't burn it all at once because, well, I'm just afraid that's going to be too big of a fire, so I'm going to have to figure that out. And my lawn guys aren't cutting around it, which I don't blame them, because of they don't know what's in here. So, yeah, I got a bit of a task at hand today. But happy Labor Day! Today is Labor Day, so I guess that means you get to stay off of work and work at home. At least that's what it seems like to me. If you guys haven't known or haven't noticed, which is, you know, whatever you want to, however you want to phrase that. If you haven't noticed, there hasn't been any videos in a long time, and the last video I put out explains that. But I'll top it off again. My mom has been in the hospital. It's been 100 degrees here, and every weekend for the past couple weekends, about 4 weekends, I've been over at her house, kind of getting some things taken care over there. That is the priority. So she has a good house to come back to, fix some things that have been needed fixed for a long time, some stuff like that. So while she's out of the house, we've been checking on her and then working on her house. So I've got to the point where I don't have to do that anymore. It's in a good place. She's recovering well. Thanks to everybody who reached out with goodwill wishes. She had surgery. She's recovering. It's going to take some time to get her back on her feet and then get her back to the house. But now we know the house is ready for her. So that's why I haven't been making any videos, and I'm pretty sure you guys understand. But I'm behind on my own house because of it. But the weather's supposed to be getting a little nicer. Even next weekend, it's supposed to have a cool front come in, a bona fide cool front, which I just cannot wait, because then really going to be spending a lot of time out here working on the stuff. So there, hopefully you guys are caught up. Like I said, I'm going to work on burning some stuff this morning. But I don't know if I'm going to be working on the Jeep today or the Dakota today. The problem is I need to pull a fuel line off of this guy and trim it so I can put a flex fuel sensor in that we have been working on. Been working with Matt Happel on setting up a tune for flex fuel and nitrous. So the first step is the flex fuel sensor, and I don't know where I put my Motion Raceworks bypass. So I have to find that. That's pretty important. I would like to find that. But I need it to be able to move. So I need to, at minimum, today switch the Nova out with the Dakota so that I can, so this thing, it doesn't block anything else in, is basically what I'm getting at. So I don't know if I'm going to tear this down today or not. Probably not is what I'm thinking. The Jeep, if you guys, it's been a little bit since I've really touched it. I kind of got frustrated with it and stopped for a while. It has some kind of coolant pressure issue. I don't know if that's just air pockets or what. I put a new water pump on it. It does spin the right way. Apparently that's a thing, because if you have a California vehicle, you can order the wrong water pump because it spins the other way with a serpentine belt. But this is not a California vehicle. This is a, who knows, but not California vehicle. So I may do what's called a leak down test on this guy today to find out if it's leaking from the head gasket into the coolant system, which I think it is. If I can verify that, I'll know my next steps for the Jeep, which is either pulling the engine out and, or not pulling, well, pulling the head off at least, and maybe getting that checked, or putting a new engine in it or something. I don't know. It needs something. I hate to have been putting all this work into this Jeep and I can't drive it. And that's kind of very frustrating. I also have some carburetor swap parts for it. We're going to put a Holley carburetor on it because I think this guy's running really lean and making the exhaust super, super hot, uncomfortably hot. Sounds like it's on fire hot. So might be working on this. And if you don't know, it's an 87 CJ, sorry, it's a 1980 CJ7. And I love it. And I've put a lot of work into it, but it still needs a whole lot of stuff. So I'll let you know what we get to, but I'm going to start working outside and give you guys an update once I get all that figured out. So welcome back, or welcome me back, or whatever. Thanks for hanging out, whatever it is. Thanks, guys. I won't show you myself right now, but I'll show you the fire because it took me probably 2 hours to light, but it's finally catching on. Everything's kind of wet, which is kind of the way I prefer it because I didn't want it to get out of hand. So it's going pretty good. Finally kind of getting in the middle there, which I'm very happy about. So it might get a little high in middle, but in a minute. Might get a little high in a minute in the middle. But I got my hose over there to try to tame things down if I have to. But I think this is gonna work out the way I wanted it to without it being a crazy, crazy fire. Something manageable. And since everything's wet, that's, like I said, working out in our favor. So all day long, still going. Got new trees because there used to be one by my shop that I thought was going to take out my house during a hurricane. So that dude's gone. Oh, still going. I think it's pretty easy to tell it's not the same day. I didn't quite get anything done that day. I was cutting and burning trees and all other stuff. Got a lot of it burnt, still got some stuff to do. But I went ahead and started working on the Jeep and tried to figure out how to use this leak down tester. So what's a leak down tester? Well, a leak down tester can hold a regulated amount of pressure in your cylinder and show you how much of a leak that cylinder may have. That's the best way I can describe it. So if you have a crack in your block or a bad cylinder head or a bad cylinder head gasket, usually it creates a pretty significant leak somewhere. And if you use a leak down tester, you can somewhat identify where that leak is coming from. Meaning that if you have your piston at top dead center and you do your leak down test and you have bubbles in your coolant, you know right away there's some kind of a crack between the cylinder head and the water jacket, and crankcase pressure or exhaust pressure or whatever you want to call it, combustion is getting into the water system and heating it up. So that was actually my goal today to figure out, is if the Jeep has some kind of a cracked cylinder head or something to that extent. Well, so far so good. I do have one cylinder that I need to recheck. So I'm going to show you the whole process on that. So what do you need? Well, I think I got this leak down tester off of Amazon. I think it was like 35 or 45 bucks. I don't remember. Looks like Jive Tour. I'm sure it's an overseas product. It comes with a hose that plugs into your cylinder head where the spark plugs go. Another hose that attaches to that. It's a quick disconnect. And then you have another hose that goes to your air compressor, which my hose is right here. From there, you have a regulator. So this is a regulator right here. that goes into a gauge and shows you what your loading pressure into your cylinder is, and then goes to another gauge which somewhat should be pretty identical, except this one it's got some graphics to let you know if it's like low or not. But if you look on the inside of this is in bars, so you've got 0 to 7 bars, 0 to 7 bars. So on the inside, it should be somewhat like 1 to 1. So you can know that if you have a significant leak, if you bring your pressure up to 80 or 90 here, and this gauge does not like go up very far, it stays in 80 or 60 or 2 or 3 bar, but you've got 6 or 7 bar in your first gauge, you know you have a significant leak. That may not make a whole bunch of sense now. You're going to have some kind of leak because air will get past the cylinder rings and get into the crate case, and that's pretty normal. But there is a key factor on doing this, and that's making sure the cylinder that you're working on is at top dead center. Now, that's not extremely difficult to do. It's a little bit more difficult to do by yourself, which I have been doing. But let me show you what I'm working with. I have a momentary button that I've had for a very long time, and I've got some wires hooked to it, and it actually operates the starter. Well, I thought it did. What did I do? Let's get this moved around a little more. What did I do? Of course it doesn't work now, right? Oh, I bet it's this. Yeah. There we go. So the first thing I do is I get my little starter, or you can get a friend. Friends can turn the key just like you can. Just make sure you're on your ignition. I've got all the plugs out of all the cylinders to make it really easy to turn over by hand. And then I will put my finger in the hole. I will turn the motor over until I feel air push past my finger. Now, let me set that up and show you. All right, so I kind of cover up the spark plug hole, and there, you can hear it right away. The air just pushed past my finger. So I know that it's on the compression stroke, and it's pretty close to top dead center. Here is the second part, what you have to do. I'm using a tool, a very expensive tool, known as a 5/16 brake line, and it fits down into the cylinder hole. What I'm doing from there is I'm turning the motor over. It's resting on the piston, and when I turn the motor over, it will rise or lower. So this one is rising, still rising, still rising. Eventually it's going to stop. When it stops, it somewhat means that you're at top dead center. However, you kind of want to rock it back and forth to make sure you're there, because there will be a small period of rotation where the piston does nothing. So I'm going back down a little bit. I'm going to go back up a little bit. So it's like right at when it pauses before it starts going back down, you know you're at top dead center. This method will get you close enough to be able to do the leak down test. From there, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my hose, throw it into the spark plug hole. Here we go. It does kind of swivel there, so it only gets so tight. You just need it tight enough to get the O-ring on there. From there, I have my leak down tester. I've got the regulator right here. You pull down on it so you can move it. If you do like that, it locks it. So I've got it loosened up all the way to the left, which means there's no pressure in the regulator. I'm going to hook up my air. Then I'm going to hook up my quick disconnect to the tube that goes in the spark plug hole. And then we're going to increase the pressure slowly. If you increase it too fast, you could rotate the motor, and that would be bad. So I'm going to increase the pressure. We're going to watch this gauge go up, and then we're going to want to see this move somewhat with it. But remember, there will be a leak, so this will be a little lower than this one. However, I am concerned about the cylinder, so this might tell us something here. So I'm going to start turning it to the right. And there we go. We're starting to rise. There we go. So we're at almost 2 bar here and just under 2 bar here. That's 30 PSI on this gauge. I'm going to go ahead and go all the way up to 80 slowly. Yeah, this has got a pretty good leak on it. I'm going to go all the way up to 80. So that's 80 PSI. It's about 5.5 bar, and we're sitting at 4.5 bar on this one. And I'll show you another cylinder here in a second. And we're going to pause while the while that thing stops making noise. Okay, let's repeat the process. Well, you can hear it. It is pretty important that you can be able to hear these things. We're going to increase the pressure. I'm going to go up to 85 this time. And maybe even 90. That's not too bad. 6.25 bar and right at 5 bar. So, what we're going to listen for is a couple things. You want to make sure it's at top dead center. If it's not, you're going to hear air coming either out of the carburetor right here, or you might hear air coming out of another piston or cylinder, I should say, because it's leaking through the exhaust, which means the exhaust valve is open. Intake valve's open, you're going to hear it through the carburetor. Exhaust valve open, you're going to hear it through another cylinder in the deal. The other thing where you could hear it from, and I've had this happen on the Dakota, and if I can find the video, I will add it and show you what it sounds like. But you kind of want to listen here and see if there's any bubbles coming through your coolant system. Let me know if this is a good sign. My issue with this Jeep is it seems to create a whole lot of pressure in the coolant system, and I have not figured out if that is a issue with air pockets or maybe perhaps a cracked cylinder head. There's also some other funky stuff going on, but that gives you an idea of what's going on. So, what are we working with here? It actually looks pretty good. It's okay if the compressor runs again, but it actually looks pretty good. It's not optimal, and I'm going to do cylinder 2 here and show you guys the difference here in just a second. But, hey, that's kind of how you do a leak down test. It's different than a compression test because you can see if there's, a loss of consistent pressure somewhere. A compression test kind of sees quickly how healthy that cylinder is by seeing how much PSI it can pump up. That's not a great explanation, but it's the best I got for now. So let me get cylinder 2 set up and I'll show you the difference. Cylinder 1. All right, so this is cylinder 2, and it's not quite as low as cylinder 1. Not necessarily concerned about either of them. The one's a little lower than this one, but still not seeing any bubbles in the coolant. I think we may have just ruled out a head gasket, which would be good. Also, I don't know if I showed this before, but if it's at top dead cylinder, you can pull the PCV valve, or whatever you're working on should have PCV valve, and you can probably feel some air coming out because it's going in the crankcase. It's getting past the cylinder rings. So, another thing you can do is you can disconnect this guy. Maybe if I can do 2 things at once. Sorry. Carefully disconnect this guy. And I'm wrong. I thought maybe you could lock it down. Maybe not. Maybe you can't lock it down overnight. But anyway, okay. If you have a hose that doesn't leak too bad, maybe you can do it that way. Or you can turn your compressor off. I'm not exactly sure because if there's always a little bit of a leak, it'll slow down. I'm sure there's some procedure for that somebody knows better than I. But there you go. Quick leak down test on the Jeep. Another video out. It's been a little while. I missed you guys. But I wanted to get this done tonight and try to get it edited tomorrow to get it out Saturday because it's been quite a long time. So we have a little bit of a direction on the Jeep. I bought a carburetor for it. I'm going to put a Holley carburetor on it because that's what I'm familiar with. And something is not exactly happy with everything here, but this is probably pretty good news. So thanks for coming along. Like I said, I missed you guys. Got a lot planned here soon. I've got some stuff to work on the Dakota. I still have some personal stuff to take care of, and it's a very, very busy time for me at work. We're having what's called a go live, which means we have to have everything ready to turn on our system at the hospital. So I can't promise that these videos, probably until December, will be every week videos, but I'm going to do as much as I possibly can to get done and try to at least get this stuff out every 2 weeks, if not every week, if things work out. So thanks for being patient with me. You guys are so awesome. We're above 5,500 subscribers, and even though I haven't posted a couple videos in a while, we still kind of gained some subscribers. So thank you guys who are subscribed. If you're not, come hang out. This is what we do. We work on all kinds of different things. We've got Typhoons and Dakotas and Novas and Sonoma GTs and twin turbo Dakotas and just all kinds of fun stuff. So I think you might like it here if you like this video alone. So, guys, I think that's it. I'm going to make this a quick and easy one and kind of shut it down. And I don't know. I'm going to maybe work on the Jeep a little bit more this weekend. But I definitely got to get started on the Dakota because Matt Happel has been helping me with that tune, and I want to get this thing ready for the fall so we can go make some passes and see what we can do, get maybe the truck into the 10s. Check us out on our social medias at the Racer X Garage. We do have a few t-shirts and some other merch. You can check us out at racerxgarage.com. And like I said, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hanging out with us, and joining the community. And we will see you next time. Until next time, you know the deal. Y'all be good.